Tales from the Black Mountains. Once upon a time, in a place not too far away, there was a land of rugged hills and towering mountains, dancing streams and endless rivers, valleys deep and caves dark, magic, wonder, and worlds apart from the normal and the mundane. A land where dragons roam and creatures speak, trees whisper and heroes sleep. This is the land of the Black Mountains, deep in the heart of Wales, the wind of the sleeping sails, for when night descends and your dreams whisk you away, there is nowhere better to journey and forget the troubles of a day. Let your body relax and walk side by side with the voice of the mountains. Let me be your guide. Tonight our tale takes us back deep into the middle of the Black Mountains, along winding mountain trails and fern-coated hills, alongside a sandstone ridge and over a trickling stream, to a cave at the base of a hill, hidden beneath the shadowed stroke from the towering lean of an ageless oak, where a bold little squirrel by the name of Sammy was preparing to step inside. Little Sammy could feel the beating of his heart like a drum, shaking his chest and telling him to run away from the dark that seemed to pour from the mouth of the rocky jaws that opened before him. He knows that what he is doing is madness and is sure to end in tears, but Sammy is a brave little squirrel, and so he ties up his fears and leaves them at the mouth of the cave as he steps on inside, knowing that what he is doing is right. Dylan the dragon had his flame stolen in the night, and with that Dylan the dragon had died. For 20 years, in every sense of the word a breathing being can have, he had to at least try. The dripping of water echoed like voices in the dark, calling him from every corner, warning him not to wander deeper into the lair of a dragon. But Sammy kept on moving. He found the back of the cave and a passage to the side that wound down into the ground. With barely a pause, he carried on. The walls of rock seemed large and yet confining. A dragon had got down here, so there was plenty of room, but the deeper he got, the more he felt the weight of the earth around him. Still he continued down. Fault lines followed him southwards, painting perilous pictures on the walls, documenting the ages he was passing. The path was getting rougher. The passageway became littered with boulders several 100 times the size of a squirrel, but Sammy simply wove between them until he reached what appeared to be a dragon-sized doorway in the rock. A doorway that had been blocked up with boulders and stones, blocked so tightly that even Sammy could see no way through. He quickly scampered around the hallway, trying to detect another way to go. He found none. Without letting his doubts appear, he tried again, refusing to accept that this was a dead end. Sammy was a driven individual, and after the second fruitless search, what did he do? He returned to the door and tried once more, making sure to look in every nook and cranny. Nothing was going to stop Sammy. And several feet up in the air, in the top right corner of the doorway, almost invisible from sight, was a slither of a gap, just big enough for Sammy to pass through, and what he saw in front of him, well, that brought the fear he had left at the mouth of the cave, hurtling down through the ground towards him. Lying Lying there in the middle of this chamber of rock was the form of Dylan, fast asleep. To Sammy he was huge, Dylan's teeth visible as he snored, each as long as the branches of the oak Sammy had grown up on, his head as big as the boulders that had littered Sammy's path, his arms and legs trunks of scaled muscle as thick as the trunk of the biggest oak Sammy had ever seen. In fact, Sammy was so in awe of what he saw. He didn't notice knocking a tiny pebble that hit a small rock that tipped a stone that clattered onto a boulder that cracked on the floor. Sammy held his breath, desperate that the snore that Dylan had just produced would not be the last, and he kept holding his breath as a bright golden light shone from Dylan's eyes as he opened them wide. Who wakes a dragon from its sleep? Who dares stop the dream beats of the king under this hill? Show yourself, Sammy the squirrel. Shocked, surprised, completely amazed, Sammy, without thinking, blurted from the shade. How do you know my name? I've been waiting for you. My sleep of late has been weak, and my dreams fractured. I am on the edge of another 40 years of night. I was almost certain I would be sleeping, but here you are. I know not why you have come, only that if you were to have come, it would have been today. So speak, squirrel, while I decide what to do with an intruder such as you. And so Sammy, stepping right in front of Dylan's giant head, gulped twice and then said, I know that, dragon, you have lost your flame, and for 20 years you have remained under the ground away from the skies, sad and miserable, dreaming of the sunrise and the moon and the stars you have left behind. But, dragon, I believe I know something about the night it all went away, and I have travelled deep underground to simply say it was stolen, not lost. The night of the event, I know one who saw a flash of light and a shadow escape into the night. If you are not ready to give up, and you know anything about who might have been able to do such a thing, then, dragon, please, return up high, find the thief, and bring magic back to our skies. After he had finished speaking, there was a long and weighted silence. Sammy felt as if he stood for an age staring at Dylan's, whose mind was engaged, both eyes closed, his mouth shut tight. The dragon stood motionless for most of the night, not a word in reply, nor a nod of the head, nothing, in fact, to say he wasn't dead, until suddenly his eyes opened wide. My name is not Dragon. It's Dylan the Fearless, and for 20 years I have acted like the Flameless. No more, young squirrel, no more. If what you say is true, then there is only one who would dare take my flame, only one who would sneak and drift into shadows. Mayrick, the darkest of the dragons, the trickster, and one who will pay for what he has done. My time has come. He is done. and with a roar that seemed to shake the earth itself, Dylan burst upwards, tearing through the ground and rocks. You'd be right to be scared for Sammy, as rocks and boulders began to tumble, but with one giant clawed hand, Dylan scooped up the squirrel, and within minutes the two were breaking into the light. As the sun rose and day woke, Dylan burst from the night, the dark, the underground, his eyes shining as bright as the new sun. "Are you coming with me, little squirrel?" he said as he flew high. "If you have room," said Sammy, feeling a little nervous in the sky, and with a laugh that had not been heard above that cave for 20 years. "Then let's find ourselves a dragon." And with a flash of wings and a roar up high, Dylan and Sammy began to dive over rivers, forest, and along mountain sides, ready to confront Meirig and find the flame that was taken. Into the green-flecked forests and alongside star-startled streams, up amongst the mountain thrones thrust into the sky, and through the frosted fern tips and burning breath of howling wind, we will return again. Nos dda, friend.